you've decided that you're going to start your job search. So what do? You go find that old resume you used before and you go ahead and update it and start clicking easy apply. But you know what? You don't hear anything back. And that's because that resume is not working for you. You see, old resumes are for the professional you used to be, not the professional you are now or the one you want to be. So today we're going to talk about why updating an old resume may not be the productivity hack that you think it is. Hi, I'm Shelley Piedmont, a former recruiter turned career coach, and I want you to thrive and not just survive your job. So let's talk about some of the reasons why you might not want to use an old resume and update it. So one of the first reasons could be that the information on that old resume is really outdated or irrelevant now to what you want to be doing. So it could be as simple as you've got jobs there from 20 years ago that are not relevant to the roles that you're looking at now, and those can come off. So just updating it isn't going to be helpful. Or it could be that, that experience that you had, which was important for the job that you were most recently in, that you wrote that resume for, maybe it's irrelevant for the jobs you want. And therefore, when you do that, you're telling a funky story. Now, the recruiter is going to read that, the hiring manager is going to read that, and they're going to try to understand kind of why each piece of information is in there. If you got irrelevant or outdated information, what happens is you ruin that story, and that can cause them actually to pass you up for somebody who's telling a better story. So that's a reason. Another reason could be that your old resume was written more to focus on job duties. Now, not too long ago, that was very common. And you would have bullet points, talk about what you were responsible for. And that was pretty standard. Nowadays, that doesn't cut it anymore. You really need to focus on results, your achievements. So that means we want to see metrics, the things that you've accomplished. So those responsibility and duty bullet points, they're not going to help you. If you're rewriting the resume, then you can look at that information, convert it to achievements, and it will be more impactful. If you like this content, I always appreciate hitting that like button and go ahead and subscribe. It really helps my channel. Another reason why you may want to just rewrite your entire resume instead of just adding your most recent job is because of highlighting transferable skills. Now, you wrote that resume maybe thinking, well, I only need to showcase a small set of skills because that was relevant for the job that I was pursuing at that time. Maybe you're looking at different jobs or higher level jobs, and having those transferable skills highlighted on your resume may be very important to show that you actually are qualified to do the role. But if they're not in your history because you didn't think to include them, that could be a problem. In that case, you would want to actually go and rewrite everything and think about the bullet points that are accomplishment oriented and show the skills that are required for the roles you're looking for now. Another reason why you may want to rewrite your resume is because it includes outdated information. Especially for job seekers that are a little bit older, you may have used technologies that no longer exist, or even processes that would not be relevant in any job these days. When I started my recruiting career, we actually put advertisements in newspapers. Now, if I have that in a resume, people be looking at me like, why would she put that in there? And how old is she? So you want to ensure that any irrelevant information is deleted from your resume, that may really require you to rewrite it. Another reason you may not want to just update your resume that you've had is because of the formatting of it. So, depending on how long it's been since you've looked for a job, your formatting might be out of style. So, I've seen resumes with objective statements. I have seen resumes that have references available upon request. I have seen resumes that have outdated fonts. I've also seen resumes that have 1-inch margins because that was standard a while back, though it is not anymore. Your old style format resume may not be working for you anymore. What it may be doing is sending the signal that you're of a certain age and you want to avoid ageism. So you always want to make sure it's formatted in a modern format that will appeal to the hiring team as they're looking at your resume. Another reason that this could be problematic for you is because your old resume may not have addressed employment gaps proactively. Oftentimes, gaps that are, later in our career are more important than those gaps that are earlier in your career. But if you've had a lengthy gap or multiple gaps, that might come up as an issue. And you may not have even thought to address it, but there are ways that you could do that. Maybe you could put a one line in there because you were taking a sabbatical or you were caregiving or you were even doing any of those things and taking on volunteer work, or you were doing some additional studies, whatever it might be to bridge that gap. You might want to put that in your resume, and just updating your resume with the latest information from your most recent job is not going to allow you to do that. Another reason that you might want to rewrite your resume is because you may not have included relevant keywords to the jobs you're looking at now within your resume. You might not even have thought of that, or the keywords that you may have thought of are just not relevant anymore to the kind of roles that you're interested in. And it always makes sense, and as a person who helps job seekers, you want to use the keywords, the lingo that is going to be commonly used in the types of roles and the types of industries you are looking at. It would make sense that as you're writing a new resume, you would go through all your old jobs and decide, maybe the keywords for what I'm looking for, I can insert them in here into the narrative, and it would make more sense and help me score higher if the applicant tracking system is enabled to do scoring. That always helps. So that's another reason why just updating your current job or your most recent job on your resume is not going to cut it. Your resume is a marketing document. It is to help tell the story that is relevant to show your value to the employers and industries you are interested in. It's not a historical document. So it's not wise to just go, all I have to do is put that most recent job on there and I'm done. Nope. In this job market, that's not going to cut it. You really need to look at your resume holistically. You need to come up with the strategy that best tells the story of your value in the job market, and look at each of the positions you've had, your education, potentially your volunteer work, and see how it tells that story. It should be written so that it's cohesive to tell the story of what value you bring. Do that, and you will be more competitive in the job market. You will get those interviews and those job offers you've been waiting for. I offer a resume strategy service. So if you're interested in having me look at your resume and provide feedback and help you with strategy, the information about that is in the description.